Shit, what's this podcast called?
Discourse of Human Events.
The discourse is just crazy.
Everything's okay, I'm just trying to act my age. Yeah, I wanna know where the hell the days go. Yeah, I wanna know where the hell the days go. I wanna look and feel years younger, baby. I wanna look and feel.
Like, how does a blind person picture things in their head? Does that make sense? Like, because you
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
really
yeah.
picture things. Like, I don't...
Yeah.
Like, it's so
Just,
confusing to me to
I
think
just
of
assume
that.
it's like, they just think, like, you can also talk to yourself, right? In your
Yes.
head? So it's just that. There's
But I
no
hear words.
picturing.
though. When I think of words in my head, I kind of hear the words. You know what I mean?
I think the big question is that when you are blind, it's really hard for you to picture any sort of color. Like, you have no conceptual understanding of what color is. Right? You just
Yeah.
see, like...
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Blind people don't see shit. They're just in their mind's eye. They're just thinking words. Just like you and I do. Words. We can do words in our head. But they
Well,
don't
when
have
I-
the pictures.
I guess when I think of a word, so I'm thinking of a word right now,
Mm-hmm.
I either picture the word or
Really?
I hear it.
Yeah,
You
hear
know what
it.
I mean?
So they can still hear.
Yeah, but what would they hear when it talks about like spatial things?
The
Well,
word.
they can still touch it, right?
Yeah.
They have a sort of conceptual meaning, say, like 3 arms to the
But
left.
how does that translate in the brain?
So, like the word wide. Like you would think wide is like you look
I'm
and
not
it goes
talking
from
about
left
words,
to
though. I'm talking about space. How do they picture or imagine space? If you close your eyes and
That's not that
picture,
hard.
if you
Because
picture,
they fucking walk around and they touch things.
but if you picture your room, you can
Uh-huh.
picture the actual dimensions.
Okay, so go to the furthest part on the left side of your room. Put your hand, okay, and then keep going at a certain pace until you reach the right side.
Yes, but I'm picturing my
Don't-
hand.
Close your eyes and do this.
I
Just
am.
feel it. That's what they.
No, but I'm picturing
Understand.
a hand with a wall. They've never seen what a hand or a wall looks like, so how are they picturing
Okay,
that?
try this very simple thing. Close your eyes while you do it, dumbass.
That's what I just did. If I
You
say,
don't have-
close your eyes and picture a...
Don't picture it. Actually do it. Close your eyes.
Uh-huh.
Put your hand on the wall,
I see
on the
what you're
leftmost side. Walk at a certain pace to the right side until it stops. Now, when they think wide, they think it's that wide. At that pace, I feel it going that far.
So what they picture is feelings. The
Yeah,
of
feelings.
course.
That's what they would picture. It's
sort
hard,
of-
but
yeah,
it's hard
you
for
have
me
to-
as somebody who sees to picture something as just feeling. I
I
automatically
could imagine the
translate it.
fact.
Yeah. But you
Yeah,
automatically translate it into
the first
sight.
thing we would go to is the thing we see.
Exactly.
But if you asked me to imagine closing my eyes, putting my hand on a wall and doing that, I can picture what would happen. I can understand myself.
I understand
and
it.
imagine myself just feeling that feeling for a while.
I understand it, but I can't do it. Because I am automatically picturing my actual hand against the wall, going against something. And my head is automatically creating that wall space. In
That
my head.
image, yeah. But just imagine that image isn't there. Just
Yeah.
imagine the feeling. And I think that's probably about it.
I guess that's close. Close as we'll ever get. Or can they picture space?
It's kind of like
No,
that
it's
when
pretty much
you
all
don't
dark.
You don't have one feeling. You're trying to use other feelings to mimic what you're supposed to
Yeah.
feel.
But I'm saying in their mind's eye, can they picture what space is? Like, Man, that's so hard to even word.
I don't think
I think our language doesn't even work for this.
No, I just don't think you get it. They have a different conception of it, but yeah, they get the idea of space.
Yeah.
They walk around.
That's the way to say it. They get the idea, because every time I say picture space, that doesn't make any sense.
No, they don't picture space.
They understand,
but they understand the concept. Yeah. The concept of space does not require sight.
There we go.
Bats get space. They fly around. They can't see for shit.
Have you seen the people that do echolocation? There's this dude that, like, he rides bicycles and stuff, and he's completely blind. And, like, while he's riding, he'll go to get that click to bounce off of objects, so he knows where objects are around him.
I'm not sure I'd buy it.
I've seen the video of him doing it.
Oh, I don't give a shit. People can edit.
Go ahead and watch it, man. The guy actually started a whole school to teach people how to do echolocation.
Alright. Where do I go?
I'd probably just type in blind person echolocation.
Blind person
echolocation. He started his own school to try and teach blind people how to do this. It's pretty awesome. The dude's 100% blind.
Okay, this guy's not... The dude I'm seeing is not riding a bike.
Maybe type in...
I believe
bike.
echolocation is a thing.
Go to YouTube, type blind echolocation bike. It's the very first thing. I mean, he's not riding...
Hold up.
Perfect.
Oh, no,
you know what I mean? He can't go fast.
But he's not riding in traffic or anything like that.
Oh, no, he's definitely riding on the street.
See, that's the part I'm guessing is edited to like crazy. Yeah.
No, there's definitely traffic, bro. It's so weird watching this. Are you on YouTube?
No, see, that part I don't buy. I believe that's editing.
What do you mean? Editing how?
As in, they drove, the news cameraman drove that car by and told him to... He doesn't even stop anyways.
What are you talking about?
So,
when the red car goes by?
At 21 seconds, he doesn't really stop. He's still pedaling. I think that's the cameraman doing that.
Hold on.
I'm sorry, there's way too much noise in a street. Like, even if he does echolocation.
Yeah, but
there's
the point
a lot
is you
of
can do
noise in the street.
echolocation and ride a bike.
Yeah, you can do echolocation. I don't think that's not true. But does he actually ride a bike regularly in a traffic conditions? No, I doubt that.
No.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, of course, you can do echolocation yourself. Probably. But just not that well.
But so if he does echolocation though, man, it's just like mind-boggling to think of how that works. Because to me, once again, I would picture, okay, now I know where this wall is. But I would see it in my mind's eye, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So what are they seeing in their mind's eye? I just want to be blind for like 2 hours so I understand exactly what it's like.
It's not that hard. Close your eyes for 2 hours, dumbass.
But that doesn't matter because no.
This isn't a goddamn...
Because I was born not blind. That's my point. Erase my ability to know what...
Sometimes I don't understand what you're asking. Just close your eyes. I want to be blind for 2 hours. Do you know how to close your eyes?
That doesn't work, though. If you close your eyes, you're...
Put stuff over it for 2 hours.
No. Because you're still getting the dimness and lightness of things around you, one. Like, if you close your eyes... and then wave your hand in front of you. You still have...
Most blind people do have a little sight. They can see, like, a little dimness and lightness.
That's true.
But even, let's say, you wanted to, put something over your eyes.
But But also, my point is not just like to be blind for 2 hours. It's to have the feeling of being blind your whole life for 2 hours. Having never never seen anything, how do you picture things in your mind's eye? Like, what does that look like, or sound like, or feel like, or...
Dude, you're asking questions we just answered pretty succinctly.
Yes, we did, but that's just us guessing of what it's like.
It's
one thing
you
to say
can
this
do
is
it.
probably what it's like, and it's another thing to actually experience it.
No, it's not, because you can repeat it. That's the thing. They're missing a sense. You aren't. I have the senses that they have.
Yes. I don't get what you're saying, because that's exactly my point, is you have that sense, so you'll never know what it's like to not.
So, again, I can close my eyes, and I can walk along the edge and feel for such a period of time. And when I think, what is it like to walk along an edge and feel for a certain period of time?
But
now, if my term wide referred to that, I can imagine that. I know what that feels like.
You can imagine.
I'm running my finger along a table now.
Yeah.
Exclude sight if you'd like. I can just completely
you've seen
imagine that I did that in my head.
You've seen for your whole life, though, so that doesn't really work. That's my whole point. When you do that,
it does.
You can't eliminate the idea of a picture of what you're doing. You know exactly what the table you're rubbing your hand across looks like.
Close your eyes.
Yeah.
No, I
rub
think
it again.
what Zach means is you're born without sight.
I know.
Right?
Yes. So Nick, close your eyes.
Mental connection.
Close your eyes, Nick.
Say, like orange.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Close your eyes, Nick, and rub your
It just
table.
means a word.
Close your eyes
Okay.
and rub your table.
Oh, yeah, I'm rubbing that table hard.
Okay, now open your eyes. You know exactly what that table looks like, what it already feels like. You know what color it is. It's not because you felt it that you know that. It's because you've seen it many times before. You know exactly what a table looks like, especially that certain table you just felt.
Yeah, I get
Because you've
but
experienced the sight of the table.
But I can also have experienced the feeling, and I know what a blind person feels.
No,
Because I can
you've
feel
never,
it too. I can do what they can do.
You've never felt your whole life without sight.
Yes, I have. I've closed my eyes before. I've
Your
walked
whole
around
life,
in the
your
dark.
whole life, you've closed your eyes and felt things.
No.
The amount
But
of
I've walked
times-
around in the dark plenty of times.
Yeah, but that's like, what, maybe like if you add it all up, like an hour?
I know,
That
but
you've
it
walked
means
around
I
in the
understand
dark.
the experience of walking and doing things without sight.
No, because you've had sight your whole life. You can't say you understand what it's like to see something, to not see something your whole life when you've seen something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get that.
That's my whole
I think he
point.
said you
I
know
I
what
get
it
I
feels like to
can't
temporary loss
I
of
can't
sight.
experience
Not permanent.
anything
Like-
that other people experience. Like,
Yeah, that's my whole point.
I can't know what it is like to be you. But
No.
in the abstract, I know what it's like to feel things.
You can have an
and
idea.
that's mostly what blind people do, is they feel things.
You have an idea
I know
of what
what-
it might be like.
Yes.
That's my whole point. You have an idea, but
I think
ideas
it's
can
no
be wrong.
different than the fact that I can have an idea of what it feels like to be you.
But
I can't
ideas
be
can be
perfectly
wrong.
accurate.
You know? Ideas can be
So
wrong.
So what's the point of the blindness? It's no different than me not knowing exactly what it is like to be you. It's
Exactly. That's my whole point. That's my whole point. Is I would like for 2 hours to know exactly what it's like to be blind. Because right now we only have an idea of what it's
why
like
not
to
be blind? Why not just be a king or somebody else or
What?
just a random person?
I'm just. The whole point is about blind people. You're just like taking this to a whole nother topic.
I'm saying the blindness adds nothing. The blindness is no different than just being another person in general.
We were talking about blind people, though, and I was saying I would like to understand what it's like to be blind your whole life for a couple hours. Now you're just randomly talking about, but what's that? How's that different from wanting to be like Bill Gates for 2 hours? I'm saying because we're talking about blind people.
No, I think you started with a conception that it's actually a completely different experience in the sense that, like, it's unimaginable.
You're punning?
No, I think it's imaginable. You just have to close your eyes and you can pretty much get a pretty good idea. You can imagine it pretty clearly if you close your eyes for a day.
No, I don't think pretty clearly.
Close your eyes for a month and you can get a pretty good goddamn idea.
Pretty clearly is wrong. I would say not pretty clearly. You can have an idea. I could have an idea of what it's like to be Bill Gates if I started a multi-billion-dollar company in my early youth and then grew up to be rich.
Mm-hmm.
I can have an idea of what it's like, but I'll never know exactly what it's like to be Bill Gates. Just like I never know exactly what it's like to be a blind person.
So again, you're taking it back. So yeah, again, it's not really that interesting or special. The being blind, it's the same as being just a different person.
That's kind of the whole point of the conversation, though.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's obvious and not really interesting.
Your mom's obvious and not really interesting.
Moving on.
I'm just saying, my whole point is, you're arguing that you have an idea of what it's like to be blind your whole life, and I'm saying you don't. You have like this very vague idea. You're trying to get this idea of what it's like, but you haven't been blind your whole life, so you have this idea, but that's just your own idea.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you're basing this off of is your own experiences. So it'll only be a little idea that you have of what it's like to be blind.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
I'm just saying that that's no different than any other thing that's outside your experience. Everything that is outside your experience. So blindness is not special.
I'm not disagreeing with that, so I don't know why we're talking about that. So yeah, I'd like to experience what it's like to be a girl for maybe 2 hours. Because I can only have an idea of what that would be like. I'd like to experience what it's like to be a cat for maybe 2 hours. But I can only have an idea of what that's like. I'd like to experience what it's like to be a dog for 2 hours. But I can only have an idea of what that's like.
So, okay. Would you like to experience what it's like to be 1 inch taller?
1 inch taller. My whole life.
Yep.
No, because I don't think that would make as much of an impact in my life.
Yeah, but you can get a pretty good...
being blind.
You know why? It's because you can get a pretty good idea of it.
Yes, right? I can get a really good idea of that. I cannot get a really good idea of being blind.
So there's a... No, that's where I'm making the argument. On the spectrum of, can you get a pretty good idea of it?
Can you imagine what it's like to be 5 feet... smaller than you are.
Hold on.
That's the difference
me finish
we're
my
talking
argument.
about.
Let me finish my argument.
No, because your argument's flawed. You're talking about an inch.
You haven't even heard it.
Okay, go on.
So on the spectrum of could you get an idea,
Uh-huh.
I believe you were saying it was far out in left field. It's unimaginable. It's just like being a cow. How could I imagine being a cow?
Yeah,
I'm saying no, blindness isn't that far from your experience. It's actually just a little bit different.
I'm saying it's
not that
way
far.
different. Now, it's not as much as being a cow, no. But it's way out there in the human experience. Just like if
I'm saying it's a human experience.
Nick, what would it be like? How tall are you? 6 foot? 5'10", 5'11".
Mm-hmm.
What would it be like if you were 3 foot tall your whole life? Could you truly, really, could you imagine that your whole life? I don't think you could. I think
you get a decent idea.
See, I think you're completely wrong. There's so many experiences that you wouldn't even think of until you actually were 3 foot tall that you would run into.
I'd never think of the fact that, damn, I can't reach that thing up there.
But But that's
It's so out of the realm of imaginability. Dude, you smoke too much weed.
no.
Alright?
I think you're totally wrong. The human experience is so important, and to have lived your life.
I know, but I'm a human.
experience.
So when you say, could you imagine the human experience? Yeah, because I'm a human. So if you keep it within the realm of humanity, yeah, I can get a pretty decent idea.
No, you can't really get... No. That's my whole point, is you say you can imagine...
Like, could you imagine being a 13th century peasant? Yeah, I'd probably be hungry most of the time.
That's my... But when you say you can imagine it, that's...
I remember being hungry before.
No.
Now just imagine that times 100.
I think you're using a different definition of imagine.
I'm just saying, as long as you keep it within the human experience, it's something I've experienced before to some degree.
Yeah, that's my
Blindness, I've experienced to some degree. You've experienced blindness to some degree. Every human has.
No.
So I can imagine just pushing it along a spectrum.
Let me take it this way. Chloe lived her life in China. Do you really think you can imagine your life beginning in China? You're going to say yes, but I don't really think you can. Because the idea of imagining is... to be able to imagine a lifetime.
My
is
parents
impossible.
would bother me about my grades a whole lot more.
Maybe you'll end up in MIT.
Let me just put it this way. Can you even imagine your own life, like your whole entire life? And every experience you've ever had and how it shaped you as a person? Can you actually imagine?
Imagination.
What?
Nothing.
Can you imagine your whole entire life, from birth to who you are now? Can you imagine all your experiences and how that created you as a person? How that shaped you? How that sculpted you? You can get little bits and pieces that shape you.
You gotta, now you're stretching the definition of imagination.
That's what I just said. We have a different definition of imagine. You're saying you can imagine what it's like to live your whole life as you're 3 foot tall, but all you can really think of is it would be harder to lift things up. You're not thinking about...
No.
Also, it would be harder to get dates because nobody would want to date you.
Oh,
because you're 3 foot
wait,
tall.
did you just come up with that? Whoa, did you just come up with that? So you imagined that. So you understand that it would be like that. So you understand what it would be like if you were like that.
Not really, because I haven't been that way. I can say that's probably what it would be like, but to experience it is not the same as imagining it.
Have you been rejected before?
Yeah, but...
So you have the experience of that. Now just imagine it happens a lot more. Okay? That's my point.
I don't think...
If I have an experience of it, I can push it out in a trajectory and just imagine that it was a bit more.
I don't think you can.
If I was blind, imagine, like, I have been walking around in the dark where I can't see shit. Imagine it was even worse and that happened throughout my whole life.
Okay.
Of course I can imagine. That's why I can read novels where it takes perspectives of different people. It's because I can imagine myself in the position of a different person. That's why novels work. If I couldn't do that, novels wouldn't work at all. They wouldn't make any fucking sense.
No.
But I can. That's why fiction works. Because you can put yourself in another person's place. And you can explore what it would be like to be that person.
Yes, you can explore. You can have very...
So are you with me? This is why fiction works. And this is why there's no novels of what it's like to be a lion, other than they anthropomorphize the shit out of it. No, they basically make it you're actually a human in a lion's body. But if they made it you're a lion, it would just be a bunch of and shit. No. And it wouldn't really make a novel.
I actually disagree with 90%.
But when you have a blind person, you could write a novel from a blind person's perspective, and I would understand the novel. I would be able to read it. I could understand it.
Okay, you went on a huge tangent, but let me... Whoa.
No, I didn't. I think this is very...
Calm down. Because you're saying you can imagine what it's like to be that person, and that's not what you're doing with a novel. You can identify with the problems.
No, you definitely imagine what it's like to be them when you're.
I completely disagree.
In a novel.
You can identify. When somebody's having a rejection, you don't imagine exactly.
Now we're just getting into a semantic debate. What's the difference between
exactly
identify and imagine?
That's
What's
exactly
the difference between that?
Identify
and imagine
means it brings up those same emotions that you had from your past. That you don't picture yourself being that person having those problems. It reminds you of your own problems that correlate with the problems that characters have.
No, I can imagine myself.
You do not
in a position.
imagine yourself being period. It brings up those same problems. You don't imagine yourself being.
But that's how you imagine things. Is you know, you take what you have and you extrapolate.
I'm just saying you don't imagine yourself.
So I've been around people that are 7 feet tall, and then I feel like, oh my god, they're so much bigger than me. Now, when I read a novel from a short person's perspective, I go, oh, so it's just like that same thing. But almost everyone gives you that feeling. I can imagine that. I can imagine myself in that position.
I think when you talk about imagine, you can only have
you're just changing
a slight idea.
Okay.
So when you're saying imagine, you really only have a slight idea, and that's our biggest problem with this conversation is your idea of imagine is just a slight idea. You can have a slight idea of what it's like. Where to me,
no,
if you're saying
you can have a lot of an idea. I thought that was the debate. I'm saying you can have a pretty damn good idea.
No, that's
if you're smart enough and can figure out, I can extrapolate a lot.
I completely disagree.
Okay.
I think the whole adage of walk a mile in somebody else's shoes is there because you can never do that. So you can only have an idea of, okay, they grew up in a bad How would I say this? Did you ever read The Child It?
Nope. Heard of it.
Okay, but it's about...
I can imagine what it would be like to be him.
You can imagine that he was abused for X amount of years as a child. But can you really imagine what that would be like to be that child? Can you truly imagine that? Because I don't think you can.
It would suck.
See, I don't think that really...
I've been hit before, just imagine it a lot more.
Exactly. That doesn't really correlate to having the actual experience.
But you can still... people have imaginations. This is a pointless debate.
No,
it's
if
not.
You choose
the word imagine to identify...
No, we are...
It's not going anywhere.
We're already talking about... You're saying you can have a great idea of what it's like. I'm saying you cannot have a great idea of what X is like. You cannot have a great idea of what it's like to be a child who was tied up, forced to eat their own feces, beaten their whole entire life, basically, until they're, in their teens. I don't think you can have a great idea of what that's like. I think you can have a very, very slight idea of what that's like.
Nah, you can think about it. I'm not going to think about it because it'd suck.
That's my point. You can only basically feel sorrow for that person and somewhat identify with, I've had some trials and tribulations in my life, so I sort of understand it, but you'll never be able to imagine exactly what that's like. Because to know what that's exactly like,
again,
you have to experience it.
You're taking the word imagine, so now we have to define what imagine means for this
we
debate
already
to
defined
even
it.
Anything.
You're going into semantics about imagine. Just use, instead of imagine, say, I'm saying slightly know what it's like. You're saying almost exactly know what it's like.
No, I'm not saying exactly.
Okay, you're saying you know.
I exactly know what my life is like.
Okay, you're saying
I can know a pretty good deal.
Yeah, see, pretty good deal is way different than slight idea. I'm saying you might know 10% of that person's life.
10%?
Yeah.
No. I can know a lot more than 10%.
What? How?
I think genetically we're 50% banana. All right, I know what it's like to be mostly like a banana.
What?
You sure?
So how much can you imagine your life as the child called it?
Well, okay, I bet. So he can see.
The child called it. Yes,
he's not blind. So I know what it's like to, be able to see things. So I can imagine that part.
But how
I've seen fucked up things.
What's his percentage? But have you seen fucked up things for the first 16 years of your life? Like, forcibly forced to see that for 16 years of your life?
Okay.
Like, literally no happy experiences almost? Can you truly can you imagine that? So what percentage
you're
could
saying,
you...
So, no. You're putting the word imagine here. Have you done it is a different thing than imagine.
No. I'm saying what percentage can you imagine of that?
No.
I'm saying I can imagine about 10% of that.
So his life was 90% shit. Let's say that.
Yes.
Let's say his life was 90% shit.
And I can imagine about 10% of that.
Well, sure, whatever. But let's say my life was 1% shit.
Yes, sure.
Okay. So I've directly experienced 1% shit.
I don't... Well, hold on.
I've had exactly 1% shit. And he's had 90% shit. Okay?
But you're
now, what I'm saying
comparing different shits.
No, okay, but let's keep it at shit. What I'm saying, my definition of imagine even is saying I'm going to take that 1% shit and extrapolate it to 90%. That's the imagine part. If it wasn't imagine, it would be my direct experience. My direct experience is 1% shit. The imagine is where I go, let's take that 1% and let me use my brain and imagine, pretend as if it wasn't 1%, but it was times 90. It was even worse.
I'm saying, okay, I get what you're saying.
So that's the definition of imagine. The extrapolating.
I get
that's
what you're
to
saying.
Me what imagine
extrapolating and imagining, but I don't think you can.
That's like almost the definition of imagine. Imagine isn't what you directly experience. It's what you take from what you directly experience, and you pretend that it was different. You take what you know and you extend it to something different.
I understand. You can imagine what it's like. But
I can't directly experience what it's like to be a bat or to be the child called it, but I can imagine it.
So
I can extrapolate from my experience to his experience.
Hold on, I understand what you're saying. So you're saying if you can imagine 90% of what that's like, what percentage does that make you actually understand what it's like then?
Okay, now how far does my imagining...
That's what my imagination is saying.
What's my accuracy rate?
What's your actual understanding of that after you've imagined
my accuracy rate? I don't know. I think that's unknowable.
Okay, that's my point.
Because I can't actually go and become him and be like, how'd I do?
Yeah,
did I do pretty well?
That's my
point. You can only just kind of... So, no, I think neither of us can either know. It could be perfect. I could be nearly 100%, or I could be 0%.
No,
there's no way of actually validating.
I'm pretty sure you know. It's even hard to...
How do you validate that you can actually get... Like, you were, 80% accurate
because I've lived my own life.
Being like it was.
I've lived my own life, and it's hard for me to imagine what my own life was like. Does that make any sense?
No, because you directly experienced all that.
Yeah, but I can't directly pick up every single thing that I've lived. Does that not make sense? Sure, I can imagine what it's like to be me right now, but to have lived my life, it's hard for me to actually sit down and picture that in my mind's eye of my life.
But that's still the same argument. So you, 1 year ago, okay? So you're going to try to imagine yourself 1 year ago. What did it feel like to be me 1 year ago?
Yeah. Okay.
And you're saying, oh, it's so difficult to imagine.
I think it is, honestly. It's hard for me to imagine what it was like for me to be yesterday. Does that make sense? Does that not make sense?
Let's get back to my definition of imagine. You can extrapolate back to what you were like yesterday. You can picture in your mind's eye what you were like yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now my argument is you can never know for sure how accurate you are because you can't become you yesterday and go, how did I do?
Yeah, which that gives me the point that if it's hard for me to even do that for myself, who actually live that life, how hard would it be for that to... No. It's hard for me to understand and know what my accuracy rate is for what it was like to be...
Yes, you could be 100% or you could be 0%. It's unknowable.
No, I think
which makes the debate pointless.
I know it's not 100%.
Do you know it's 0%?
I know it's not 0%.
So it's somewhere between 0% and 100%.
I know it's
So what is the point of this debate again? Which brings me back to my point I made about an hour ago.
No.
This is a pointless debate.
No, it's not.
If you say, no, it's not 0%, but it's not 100%,
No.
but it's somewhere in between my accuracy of imagining, it's somewhere between 0 and 100, and I have no way of verifying which it is, but it's somewhere between 0 and 100.
That's not what I said. That's what you said. By asking
I know that's
questions.
the answer. There's no way you can know.
You asked me two
But it's somewhere
questions.
between 0 and 100. It's somewhere between 0 and 100.
Yes, of course that's the ultimate answer.
Which brings me to the point that it's pointless.
Why would it be pointless to try and imagine what it was like to be and understand what it was
No,
like
no,
to
no.
be
I'm not
yesterday?
saying it's not pointless trying to understand. I'm saying it's
And have an
a
accuracy
pointless
rate.
question of how accurate are you at imagining, because it's unknowable. You can't actually know. You're basically just making it up. If you say, "Oh, it's 0%, man," or it's like a fraction of 1%.
But
how do you know that? I don't know.
I can't say I feel
it's
like
just whatever you think.
Okay, but I can say I feel like it's a low percentage because it's hard for me to understand me.
Well,
yesterday.
I feel like it's a high percentage, but there's no way of actually verifying this, so it's a pointless debate.
No, I think it's a philosophical debate. Is philosophy pointless now?
No, but we've pretty much established that there's no way of verifying, so it's just...
Which puts it in the realm of philosophy. Do you not like philosophy? It's not science. I get that, so we're having a philosophical debate, right? Is philosophy pointless to discuss?
Dead-end questions are in philosophy.
I don't think
Some of
they're
them are
dead-end
questions.
I think, me personally, trying to imagine myself...
We've just shown that it's a dead end.
Understand my motivations and who I was just yesterday is a very low percentage. I can't really understand who I was yesterday because I've had all the experiences of 24 hours.
Maybe it's just because you've done too many drugs.
No. Well, maybe. But do you feel like if you thought about yourself yesterday and all your motivations, the mood you were in, the food you ate, which affected your choices of yesterday, the food you ate, the choices you made, everything on the past 24 hours affected you. Do you think you can really have a true understanding of what that was like? Do you think that's a high percentage, a medium percentage, or a low percentage?
I think it's an extremely high percentage.
See, I think it's an extremely low percentage.
Yeah, that's
What motivated you yesterday?
Same thing that motivates me right now.
What
I want to
did
get
you eat
paid,
yesterday?
get home, and do as little as possible.
Hold on. What did you eat yesterday? How did that affect your brain chemistry?
What does that matter?
What? Are you serious? You're saying if you eat a donut today...
That's
or
not
kill,
the debate we're having at all.
It is. Because that's part of your motivation and how you act as a person is what you eat.
How's that tie into imagination at all?
Do you think what you eat affects your brain chemistry? And
Why
how
is
you
that question
think or
relevant
act?
to imagination?
Because that's part of your... Can you imagine without a brain? The question, can you imagine without a brain? Yes or no?
Yes.
You can imagine without a brain?
No.
No.
You drink too much.
Does
I wasn't really listening to you.
Does eating a donut or eating kale affect your brain?
Yes, of course.
So, eating a donut or eating kale would affect your imagination, yes or no?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so
Your
then
logic
obviously your
is so nonsensical.
No, it's not. Does your diet affect your brain chemistry? That's my whole point. Can your diet affect your
And
choices in
how,
life?
in any way, does this affect any of your argument?
Because I'm
Try
saying
this.
I'm saying you can't imagine with a high percentage of what it was like to be you yesterday because You yesterday had a certain diet choice. You had a certain, am I going to do this or this? Can you imagine the number a billion? Can you actually imagine that? I think you can have an idea, and you can make...
Dude. Let's just keep with the diet, all right?
No, my point is, you had a billion... A billion is actually smaller. You had a zillion things that affected you yesterday. Mm-hmm. Things that even as they were affecting you, you couldn't even imagine. Mm. It's almost like the butterfly effect within that day. So you trying to imagine yourself yesterday
Not really.
is almost impossible.
Because most days are basically the same.
Are they? How are they almost basically the same? That's you just summarizing your day. You go into work, you do your work, you work, what, 9 to 5?
Yeah, let's say that.
You work 9 to 5, you come home, you I don't know, you watch TV or you work on code or whatever, and then you go to bed. That's your...
Mm-hmm.
Is that really summarizing every single minute of your day?
No.
You can imagine. You can imagine the summary I just made, correct?
Hold on.
You can imagine the summary I made, right?
So all the things I ate, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whatever weird shit you throw in there.
Oh my god.
What's the discrepancy? So does it push my day to make it 1% different, 2% different, 3% different? I would say it's mostly Monday through Friday. It's within 1%. Maybe some days when something big happens, it's like 5% difference. Can I imagine it being basically 95% the same? Yeah, I can imagine it's 95% of what it is like today.
Well, I don't know if 95%'s the...
It's mostly within like a fraction of 1%. It's mostly very little.
No.
About 1%.
The summary of your day is in almost 100%. But the actual minute-to-minute breakdown of what you did every day is nowhere even near 100%.
Dude, your day is just the totality of minutes. It's just the summation of them.
Yeah.
So it's 99% all the same. So yeah, maybe 1 minute.
But no, that's because that's how you're summarizing it. You're working on a different part of a code every day, right?
Let's move on to something else.
No,
I'm bored with this topic.
I like this topic. I can.
Yeah, Chloe's almost about to join back because of this topic.
She already checked out.
No, sometimes I think you get into stoner logic, which is like, But what if A
that is an easy cop out for you to just say that.
What if A isn't A? I'm like, I can't argue that. I can't argue against that.
That's your own cop out to just say it's stoner logic when you're just saying.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes I think people have stoner logic. Like, what if A isn't A, man?
Just because
I don't know.
Wait,
what
you
if,
just said this
I
is
can't
not
argue against
scientifically
that.
provable, and now you're saying it's stoner logic because I'm using a different idea of philosophy.
Yeah.
Are you using science to
like
prove what
different
you're
idea of philosophy? What does that term mean? Does it mean anything? That doesn't mean anything.
I'm saying we are both arguing.
You got to define things.
We're arguing something that's unprovable, and you're saying you have a better idea of something that's unprovable.
Here's what I'm saying.
I have a better idea of what's unprovable.
The previous
and then you're
part
saying
of this
you're trying to get rid of what I'm saying by saying, "Oh, that's just stoner logic." When really we're both trying to use our own logic to define.
Here's what I'm trying to say. The previous part of this podcast was a lot more fun.
I personally enjoy these. You're only saying you don't like these because you think you have the higher idea of what's true. So you're saying what I'm saying is not true, and you don't want to disagree or argue it because you're saying I've already proved my point and I've won.
I think we've just argued in circles, and then when it gets boring when we keep arguing in circles.
I'm entertained.
It was fun for 15 minutes, maybe 20. And then after a point, it's just like, no matter what we say, no one's going to change their opinion, so it's pointless.
That's not true.
I like when I get to it.
I've changed my opinion by arguing with you, even if it might not happen until tomorrow or the next day, but we need to have that conversation.
No, I'm usually the type of person, maybe you can imagine being me, where when I get to a point in the discussion where I think I figured it out, and I don't think I have a lot more to figure out, I'm pretty well done.
See, I'm different. So you can imagine that I would like to
I could imagine.
stress the topic more and more, because the more I talk about it, the more I open up and see other ideas and other possibilities. I could literally talk about this topic on and on. And to you, it's boring because you think you've already reached a conclusion, and I don't think you want to change or even come up with an idea of changing.
I just don't think
I'm so open to changing. I want to keep arguing it.
But you got to give me a better argument than some weird shit about. God, I don't even remember what it was that I thought. Well, that doesn't even make sense.
See, that's my point. You're saying I don't make sense, but to me, it makes
sometimes
perfect
you
sense.
don't.
Huh?
And so let's not from this. Let's.
Well, one thing we had a problem
imagine A doesn't equal A. That one where it's like, I can't argue against that. It doesn't matter if you say imagine if it doesn't. I can't. That's the end of the discussion. But imagine, dude, if it didn't.
I'm set.
Okay.
No. My point in that discussion, which this is a whole nother discussion, was you can't imagine that. But
I don't remember.
The whole point was that there could be a whole nother universe that has things that you can't imagine. That was my whole point.
No, you wanted in a universe where A doesn't equal A, and it was just...
Yeah, that was my point.
Okay.
You just repeated what I just said. My point was there could be a universe that you can't imagine.
No, where A doesn't equal A.
Is that a universe that you can't imagine?
It's not really a universe.
Is that a universe you can't imagine?
Imagine a universe that's not a universe.
Imagine that something came out of nothing.
Does
that make any sense to you?
Can you imagine a universe that's not a universe?
No, but I can't imagine that something came out of nothing, and that's the whole theory behind the Big Bang Theory.
The point is that sentence doesn't even make sense.
Does the sentence "something came out of nothing" make sense?
Logically, there's nothing entirely... I mean...
That almost sounds like eight... That almost sounds like eight, whatever... What is it?
No, you can't put that in logical terms.
I can't put in logical terms that
so if you put it in physics, yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Can I put that...
back to logic.
Hold on. Can I put that 0 plus 0 equals 1? Because that's what something came from nothing means.
No, that's not what that means.
How does that not mean that? What's 0 mean?
0 means, well...
Is that the void of something?
Discussion.
Is that the void of something?
No.
Then what is 0 then?
So if you take a set, and if you have a set that does not contain a thing... Well, okay.
Is that not... You sound like you're describing nothing right now.
No, if you take a set, and then you have ordinal number... I gotta go back to...
See, this is a super interesting conversation to me. I don't know where you're at, but this is super interesting.
I gotta remember exactly how you do it. But yeah, you can take sets, and then from sets you derive numbers.
Okay, but how do you get 0 of a set then? That means you have no set. Which
No. Eventually it maps back to like a null set. Which is a...
Which is the lack thereof. You just said nothing.
Yeah.
What is 0?
Okay.
What is 0?
But in
it's
set
the absence of something, right?
Whoa.
It's the absence of a set, which is nothing.
No, it's the set of things that contain nothing.
If you have
a
0,
set that contains
if you
nothing,
have 0,
and then it's an ordinal mapping from that.
If you have 0 universes, how many universes do you have?
If you have 0 universes, how many universes do you have?
Yeah.
You have 0.
Okay, so if I add 0 universes to 0 universes and come up with 1 universe, how does that logically make sense?
No. That's not something from nothing, though. 0 plus 0 isn't the same as creating something from nothing.
That sounds an awful lot like creating something from nothing.
That sounds a lot like it, but it's not it.
Then I'm lost on what the definition of zero is, and it doesn't sound like you can explain it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think it actually numbers aren't as simple.
Well, what was your point of the universe is A plus A equals B? Is that what it is? What
You mean A equals A?
Yeah, where A equals B. That's what you're saying.
No.
What was
A
the
doesn't equal B.
what was the thing that you said can't exist? That's it, right?
I'm saying identity. Identity is the first law.
That A equals A, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if zero...
Oh, that the universe... Can you imagine a universe that is not a universe?
Can I imagine a universe that is not a universe? I can't. But my point is that there might be universes out there that I can't imagine because it makes any sense in my brain.
See, that doesn't actually answer anything I just asked. You know why you can't answer that? Because that sentence is nonsense.
Yes.
So it goes back to my farting in a microphone analogy. It doesn't matter what you say. Sometimes I think our debates boil down to this.
Yes. No.
And that's what I think that imagining boiled down to, is like, well, sometimes it's just... we're talking nonsense. It doesn't really matter what the words are.
I think sometimes my whole point is...
And that's where I get bored, when I feel like it's nonsense.
I think a lot of times my whole point is you always want to go with your own logic and everything that falls within the logic.
Now, I don't go with my own logic. I go with logic.
My whole point is everything that you know and all your logic is all based on human experience and what we know of the universe. My saying is there might be something beyond what that is.
What's the Shakespeare quote?
Are you seriously asking me what the Shakespeare quote is when there's like 10 billion Shakespeare quotes?
No. Hold on.
All the world is a stage.
There's more. I think he's talking to Mercutio or something. There's more.
Shakespeare is talking to Mercutio, huh?
Horatio.
Uh-huh.
More heaven and earth. There are more things in heaven and earth.
But
there are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in your philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Horatio. That's the quote. That's a famous quote.
Yeah.
There are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in your philosophy.
That's kind of my point.
My point is usually, and in that context, I believe, it was where someone's like debating the scientific viewpoint where logically it must be this, and then someone's like, no, I believe in God, and there are more things dreamt of than in your philosophy. Where it's like, okay, I can logically prove this much, and that's what I know. But when you say that, like, can you imagine that God does exist? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's just, can you prove any of this bullshit? I'm a skeptic at heart. If you don't really, if your argument is, but could you imagine? It's just, I give up. I don't care. I'm not. It's not worth my time debating.
Why not?
Because I do a comparative cost-benefit analysis of my time.
Everything that you ever talked about? That must be exhausting.
No, I do think you should do a cost-benefit analysis of your time and your effort.
Okay.
Could I be doing something better right now?
So you're talking...
Sometimes that debate makes me go, yeah, I could be doing something better right now.
Basically, we can define your...
And that better would have been another topic, which is why I was pushing for another topic.
But that's your own... That's you being bored. But I think you're really just being pompous and saying, I'm bored because...
I'm not trying to be pompous.
None of this
I'm
can be
just saying,
proved.
we were talking in circles a lot, and it's like...
That's because we're trying to figure out where each person was coming from. You're being bored
No,
because
I think I got it, and I think you got me, and then I think we just kept going in circles.
I don't think so. I think we kept on trying to extrapolate what we were talking about. In fact, it took us a while to figure out that one person was saying imagine and meaning, and I was really meaning understanding. And you were focused on the word imagine.
So you throw in the word understanding now. And then, so when you do that, you have to explain what's the difference between imagine and understanding.
Yeah, I thought we already did that.
No, we said imagine and identify.
No, we said understand.
But we only
as well. I said you can't understand
explained
what
imagine.
It's like. No, we talked
And then
about
I used the term
understanding.
direct experience.
We talked about understanding. You said you could imagine up to 90% of what it's like to be a blind person, but you would never actually understand what it's like to be a blind person.
I never said that at all.
It's okay, because I have it
don't think-
recorded where
I
you
don't-
said
I
it,
don't
so that's cool.
remember. Understand. So, again, you got to define what does it mean to understand. I could never directly experience what it's like to be a blind person from beginning to end. I'm going to use the word direct experience as in I am a person that is blind. I can't be that, of course.
I'm saying
Can I imagine it? Yes.
I'm saying imagine and understand are definitely different, and having the direct experience is also a whole nother. Like, if we really...
So what do you mean by understand?
Oh,
Let's
Lord.
start with that.
Okay, so... You understand what it's like to be you. Because you're you every day.
I understand. So I have the direct experience. Let's use that term. That's a better term. Because...
I don't
of
think
course
it's
I
really
have
that
direct
complicated
experience.
to understand the difference.
No,
between imagine and
understand. I can understand calculus. That doesn't mean I am calculus, okay?
Okay, I guess I get what you're saying.
Like, I have direct experience of what I have direct experience of. Like,
There's just a problem with language in general here. So even if we define
true.
stuff, we can break down the definition of, okay, well, what do we mean in this definition? But so imagine is you can kind of extrapolate what it would be like to be somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Understand, I think, would be more like you have experienced this. You have direct experiences with this.
And then I go back to then we're not debating. Because, yes, of course you can imagine. Of course you can't understand. In your terminology of understand. I would say that's stretching the meaning of understand, but it doesn't matter.
See, that's my point, is the language breaks down. Is because you're saying you can't ever truly understand. I'm not saying truly understand.
No. So I would say I can imagine, but I can't have direct experience of. If you just substitute the word understand for direct experience of, then that same is true. It doesn't change the sentence at all. But I would say understand does not equal direct experience of.
I think
in general language.
In general language, no.
So I think my language is more accurate.
Well, that's kind of
I
hard
can
to say,
imagine,
'cause
but
what
I
does it
can't have
mean
direct
to-
experience of.
What's it mean to understand in general language, then? Because that kind of is what it means.
To understand?
Yeah. I like pie. You understand that, right? Because you've had pie. You understand what it means to like something.
No. Do you know what I mean by direct experience?
You've had the
of?
direct experience of liking something.
So I understand that the sun revolves around the earth. I do not have direct experience of it. I've never sat above in a godlike position and seen the sun revolve around the earth. But I understand that it does. Does that sentence make sense to you?
Yes, but I just...
So that's why they're different.
I
understand that the sun revolves around the earth, but I haven't had direct experience of it. I've never sat in a godlike position and watched the sun...
I understand what you're saying.
Or the earth revolve around the sun, actually. I may be too drunk to have gotten that right. The earth revolve around the sun.
No, but... Man, how do I put this?
You got me there.
You've had direct experiences of liking something.
Yes.
So you can... I'm saying you
and
can
as a
understand
result
what it means
of
to
that,
like something.
But they're not the same thing. As a result of my direct experience, I can understand liking things. And from that understanding, I can extrapolate to imagine what it was like to like something I don't like.
And your point is you can close your eyes and imagine what it's like to be blind.
Because I understand what it is like to not see things.
But I think that is you can't do that.
Can you understand what it's like to not see things? Because you've had direct experience of not seeing stuff, right?
Okay.
Have you had the direct experience of not seeing things?
That's not the question, though. You're saying, do I have the experience of what it's like to not see anything? That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about somebody who has never seen anything. Do I have direct experience?
I'm trying to establish language here.
How's that trying to find language? We're talking about a blind person from birth.
Okay.
So have I had experience with never seeing anything?
Never.
Have I had direct experience having never seen anything?
Yeah, of course.
No, I haven't.
Having never seen certain things.
Having never seen anything. Have I had direct experience never seeing anything?
Have you never seen a purple cow?
Have I had that's not what we're talking. We're talking about a blind person.
I'm sorry. Have you never seen a purple cow?
Actually, I have, because I can draw one and kind of go from there. Can a blind person draw a purple cow and see it?
Of a purple cow.
Can a blind person draw a purple cow and see it? And imagine it? No, they can't.
Yes. They can fly.
But,
they can fly
you're
around,
changing the definition.
Flap around on their little wings.
See, this is you joking because
they're plane walkers.
Your logic is being...
This is me joking because I really wanted to end this topic like an hour ago.
No, I think you're breaking down because you can't say yes to this.
What did you say, Chloe?
I think you'll start seeing things.
I know. I think this podcast
Hold
is
on.
done. I'm bored.
See, that's my point, is you think you have this down, but I'm saying... You're saying, can I imagine not seeing things? Yes, but can I imagine not seeing things from birth? No, because I've never had direct experience with that. You're talking about a purple cow. No, but
yeah, you have experience of not seeing things
from
before
birth.
you were actually born.
No.
Your eyes don't open immediately.
As soon as I have eyes, I see.
Okay, but before that, you have a brain before you have eyes.
Well, now you're just getting into the
definition. This is where you can this is bullshit in a debate.
At what point do you become able to logically see?
But you have had direct experience of not having had seen something.
Not really, because I can't remember that direct experience.
You had the direct experience, right?
I have not had direct experience with remembering what it's like.
I'm sorry, that's direct experience.
No.
You don't remember your direct experience, but you have had direct experience.
I just changed my definition then. I have not had direct experience without remembering exactly what it's like to see.
So if you play logic games where you can just change the definition as you will.
Okay, wait. You really changed the difference. I'm saying I haven't had direct experience.
I use it mostly as you need to use it. Like, understand.
Are you saying...
I think is a lot closer to understand than your weird definition.
Are you saying there's a difference between never seeing ever and not being able to see after age 30? You're saying there's not a big direct difference there? With that direct experience? There's not a difference with those two direct experiences.
Not a difference between two direct... Sure. I don't know. I didn't know that. I didn't hear the question.
If somebody hasn't seen since birth, they're blind since birth, as opposed to somebody who has been blind since the age of 30, you're saying there's not a complete difference in the direct experiences of those people. Is there a difference in those experiences?
There's a direct difference between the direct experience of everybody. That's what direct experience means.
Oh my God! But we're comparing the blindness. We're not comparing those people. We're comparing the direct differences of their blindness. Just as our only blindness is closing our eyes. There's a direct experience with closing your eyes as opposed to being blind your whole life. We're not comparing what it's like to be that person. We're comparing what it's like to have that type of blindness. You're completely changing everything, as I'm only changing the one variable. So you have
direct experience of not seeing things. That's one variable.
I have the direct experience of closing my eyes and not seeing things in that way.
That was my one variable. And can you extrapolate that to understand because you have that, you understand what it's like to not see things. You can extrapolate that understanding, taking it all the way back to what if I never was able to. And from that, you can imagine. This is my whole debate. You can take your direct experience. From your direct experience, you understand what it's like, and you can extrapolate. And that extrapolation is what I would call an imagination.
Okay, then we're good. I think we are just talking in circles because we agree that you can imagine, and I agree that you can't understand, which to me is having the direct experience to a point.
Entirely verify how well your imagination resembles the direct experience of another because you can never become that person.
But you apparently argue that that's a high percentage, and I argue that it's low percentage. But we can never prove any of it.
Yeah, that would I
think we got to the bottom,
which is where we were about an hour ago.
Not really.
We've just established the language a lot better.
Yes,
I think we're basically where we were.
In a debate. That's pretty important in a debate to establish really what you mean.
Yeah.
I think you got bored because... Huh?
I just like funnier podcasts.
I don't mind...
Chloe gave up on this like an hour ago.
I don't mind philosophical debates. I don't know why you think... I think you're too busy thinking about what the audience thinks instead of just trying to enjoy the conversation.
Well, sometimes I do want to think about what the audience thinks. I want to be funny. I try to be funny every time.
But shouldn't you just think about if you're having an interesting conversation, it would be interesting. To me, this was an interesting conversation, as opposed to I'm forcibly thinking about.
Interesting, though.
To me, it was. I mean, certainly there's some laws because it was a 2-hour podcast, but
sometimes I get frustrated, and I'm like, I know what. I'm not quite sure where I was like saying you have stoner logic. Like, I don't know what your point is. And I'm too drunk to really make that much of an effort to try to get it.
Half the problem.
So let's just move on.
Defining terms of what we're arguing.
All right.
But once again, when you say you're using stoner logic, you're really just going to the. What is it? Is that the just
ad hominem?
Yeah, is that the just like attack the person rather than the debate?
Ad hominem.
Rather than
attacking the person. No, but sometimes I feel like
that's what it is, isn't it? If you're saying you're using stoner logic,
I just meant that as a...
True.
It depends on how you take it. No, I wasn't
using stoner logic. Stoner logic have well-defined terms.
Sometimes I think stoner logic was like, be more open-minded, or just like stock phrases you can pull out that don't really mean anything, but it's just a way of stopping a debate or just saying weird stuff that you can't really argue against. Where, like, you go, but what if, man? And you go, yeah, I don't, but what if? Like, sometimes people do that and it drives me nuts. It's like, yeah. Like Deepak Chopra.
I know what you mean.
Is full of that. But can you imagine? And then you go, but that doesn't really prove anything.
We're talking about stuff that had no, like, we were literally talking about stuff that it's impossible to do science on. So really the only thing we have is discourse to discuss it, right? Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all we have. So to say it's stoner logic is kind of undermining the discourse.
No. Sometimes I think I can't re-listen to the discourse, but I do remember the A equals A. You kept saying, "But what if?" Or like, imagine. You can't imagine. Okay, but that doesn't really disprove that A must equal A.
That I understand that in everything you know, and all the universes and all the logic that we do know of, A will always have to equal A because identity is fundamental. But when we talk about things you can't imagine, which, do you agree there's things that you can't imagine? Which is hard to actually answer now that I think about it because, yeah, I was about to say, after I said that,
again,
it is
hard to
actually
prove that one way or the other.
It's hard to say that you can't imagine things.
Can you? Can you prove that one way or the other?
Maybe the human consciousness. Yeah, exactly. The human consciousness might be limited to things that are imaginable.
Yeah. It could be that we have 100%.
Exactly what
we can
I
imagine
just
everything.
Phrased different.
But we'll never know.
You just literally said
there's no possible way we'll ever know.
If I said the consciousness is only able to imagine things that actually are imaginable. That's the same thing, right? Like, things that can actually exist are the only things you can ever imagine. I can't imagine A equals B because that can never exist.
Yeah.
So, I get where you get frustrated if I say, well, maybe there's a possibility that there is a universe that A equals B, but you can't imagine it. So you get frustrated because we can't, to you that's nonsensical. Or to me it's just like, that's technically a possibility.
Yes.
But we can't imagine it, so why are we...
But to me that just doesn't mean anything.
Is your point?
We can't imagine it. If we could, then we would know it would exist.
I was going to say, we wouldn't know it exists, or
possibly could exist. So yeah, that's where we could, if we could imagine it, then we could imagine it. If we can't imagine it, then we can't imagine it.
I get your frustration with that now.
So that's where you say something like that, and I go, if we're talking in circles, it doesn't matter. You can say that.
Saying, if it's unimaginable, if you can't imagine it, then what's the point of talking about it? Because we can't ever really do anything with that. We can't really talk about it because there's nothing else beyond that because we can't imagine it. So what's the point of talking about the unimaginable? See, I told you after about 2 hours we got to the bottom of it.
Yes, no, I think that's about right.
I don't know.
Who's really going to listen to this one to the end?
Well, yeah.
Are you really putting 2 hours of this fucking thing?
This was the
conversation. You got to cut a lot of shit out.
Was Chloe actually listening to this whole thing? No, I mean like she was in the room and
I told you she bailed out an hour ago.
I did.
Well, you know what? When I said we're moving on to something else, she put it back on and she was ready to come back in. I had her, and then you wanted to keep going.
Getting to the bottom of what we actually mean, whereas she might not. Yeah.
I do think we actually think
that's my whole point.
It's just very frustrating.
Why not have the whole discussion and figure out what we're trying to talk about and define? She checked out only because she didn't want to ask.
Here's my
probably
point.
Frustrated like you because she has a similar mind like you. Yeah, and addicted to a video game. There was something.
She's addicted to a video game
that she didn't even want to buy.
But here's my point: we never got to necrophilia.
Is that imaginable?
You still got a chance.
You don't really.
I can imagine it. It's just I don't really want to. It's pretty gross.
You can imagine it, but you just don't understand it.
You got me there. I don't understand how some people like it.
Okay, we can. Hold on.
A question that you should ask Corey about.
Yeah, he understands it. He can imagine it. He has direct experience of it. We got to it! We got to necrophilia in the end!
Long podcast, big payoff at the end. That's all I gotta say. Oh, I'm gonna stop this and argue about other things.